You're watching Channel Africa Conversations, and this the second part of our discussion on Donald Trump's attitude towards Africa. We turn to the continent itself. Nigeria has already experienced US military strikes, followed by fresh threats from President Trump, whilst he continues to boast about brokering peace in the Democratic Republic of Congo. At the same time, African leaders have been seen engaging with him publicly, even as he dismisses multilateralism and openly insults African governments, including South Africa during its G20 presidency. The question now is whether African leaders are misreading Trump, accommodating him too easily, or facing a new reality that they're unprepared for. Well, to unpack this from an African perspective, we're now joined by Adejumo Kabir Adeniyi, who's a senior researcher at Good Governance Africa's Nigeria office. Thank you so much indeed for joining us, and welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure. Good afternoon, Mr. Ndoro.
So, I am curious about Africa's position in terms of how we as a continent view Donald Trump's view of us. What are your thoughts that come to the fore immediately?
So for me, we must first agree that, President Donald Trump's attitude has generated widespread unease across the continent. But the reality is this, that beyond all of these controversies and some of the things that comes with it, I think for me, Trump's attitude should rather serve as a catalyst for African leaders to do what is right for their people. No doubt this approach is stripped of diplomacy, and there has been a lot of criticism that comes with all of these things. But for me, I just believe we also need to understand that this style disrupts the comfort that many African leaders over the years have been accustomed to. And I really think if things have been right in the first instance, there may not really be the need for Donald Trump, and in general, I just believe that what Trump is simply doing is just to force African leaders to do the needful and understand that indeed, you can't just get things, easily, but you need to demand what is right. I mean, for instance, in Nigeria, where we've been battling insecurity, Boko Haram, for instance, as far back as 2009. So it tells you that, somebody is just trying to ensure that, these people we call our leaders, they get things right, they do things the way they should be doing. Yes, we may not agree with his approach, but I think it's a way to push African leaders to do the right thing, to show that indeed poor governance and weak accountability is not accepted anywhere. So that's just my view about this.
Do you think that Donald Trump looks at Africa and says that these guys are wholly dependent on the United States? I can do and say whatever I want because they won't retaliate?
So basically, like I said, ordinarily, if leaders had in the past invested in transparency, institutional capacity, and credible initiatives before now, there won't really be need for us to be asking ourselves questions of whether it is Trump today, it could be another person tomorrow. For instance, look at Nigeria. What Trump has done in the past, by saying, oh, I'm going to take charge, that may not be because the country or even the continent and every other countries in Africa outside Nigeria, they are sovereign nation, and they should be respected. I just so much believe, again, like I mentioned, that it's just the need for African leaders to take greater ownership of their own, government in terms of security. Yes, external military approach by saying I'm going to send in military into Nigeria. For me, in as much as external support, it's great, but it shouldn't just be something that, to be done without the agreement of other countries. And that's why you must commend Nigerian government, when Donald Trump did mention that he was going to come take over. It's going to send its military down to Nigeria. The federal government, through the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, sent a delegation led by the NSA, Malam Nur Ribadu, down to the United States to have this negotiation. And we have seen the result of this. Aside from the recent blast, you also realize what we witnessed just yesterday. It was announced in the media that the U.S. is supplying Nigeria with some security equipment to fight insecurity. So this shows that African leaders, if they do what is needful and come together with Donald Trump to realize that indeed we could achieve so much greatness without any threats, really. So the threat is a no, but like I said, the approach is a no, but is it forcing African leaders to do the right thing? Of course, yes. And we should see this as catalyst.
What message do you think Donald Trump has sent to the continent in the way that he's treated South Africa when it comes to the G20, its presidency, and also now not being allowed to be part of the G20 process in 2026?
So I would say that Trump's disengagement from multilateral platforms such as G20 is often framed by many, as a kind of abandonment. But for me, it's also, reinforces what we call critical lesson that Africa cannot indeed depend on global forum alone to secure its interest. There's need for organizations like ours, the African Union, to come together to be not just an option, but an essential part of Africa's development. Whether with G20 or not, it is important that we take advantage that, yes, our own unions, ECOWAS, African Union, they must be strong enough to defend us in face of the adversities.
Donald Trump has said some pretty hurtful things and insulted a number of African countries. Should Africa be taking a more united stance and saying, you come after one of us, you come after all of us?
So the reality is this. Trump's rhetorics over the years, not even now, it's also has always, he has always lacked that of what some consider as not being respectful, and often lack respect. And also sometimes he even reinforces what we call harmful stereotypes. Yes, tone matters, and diplomacy should not normalize disrespect, but focusing alone on Donald Trump tone risks missing the deeper opportunity, because we cannot just focus on his disrespect. So we should more focus, as I would believe, on the pressure. And I believe when this pressure, when met, will help us resolve and reform. And, they can accelerate accountability in Africa. So his tone, he's been known for that, whether disrespectful or not. But, Africa's future for me will be shaped with what we are able to do with the current reality. Has he been able to spur us to do the needful, or we just want to complain more about the way he speaks about Africa?
What are the real risks for Africa under Trump's current policy? Some countries are suffering more than others. Could the rest also feel his wrath if they cross him? Should African leaders be worried that, South Africa has borne some of the brunt, that they too could fall under his anger? What are the real risks for Donald Trump's Africa policy?
So for me, I think all of these things that's happening in Africa, as I mentioned earlier, is just for African leaders, our leaders, Nigeria, every other part of the country, South Africa, is to use this moment, to recalibrate in favor of their citizens. If leaders respond by strengthening institutions and doing what is needful, then things will be great. I think our future as a nation will not be shaped by the disposition of any U.S. president, but by the quality of the leaders we produce. Our leaders need to start doing what they ought to have been doing all this while, And when they do the needful, trust me, we have been discussing Trump now. If the needful had been done over the years, citizens will come out to speak up against undue pressure in their own land.
And the African Union, should there be a African Union policy towards the United States and other countries in general?
I would say there should be an African Union policy on accountability and transparency that allows citizens to get defend of democracy, citizens to have what is right, and to be able to defend themselves in terms of crisis. Yes, we all need to work together, not isolatedly, but majorly. What we have been preaching is that we should push for citizen-owned accountability across Africa.
Post Donald Trump, will there be a reset, do you think, to what we have experienced and known as normal relations between Africa and the US pre-Donald Trump?
So definitely, every administrations have got their policies and their, so perhaps if another person come into power tomorrow, they feel like, okay, we need to re-strategize, we need to ensure that we build more relationship with Africa, but we must be prepared that whatsoever is coming after Donald Trump, we are ready, and they don't just look at Africa as a nation of unserious leaders, but a nation of competence, and where we can be speak out and be competitive when it comes to issues that matter.
Adejumo, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much indeed for joining us on Channel Africa Conversations. Your insights greatly appreciated.
Indeed, a player. Thank you very much for having me.
And that was Adejumo Kabir Adeniyi, who's a senior researcher at Good Governance Africa's Nigeria office, talking to us about perhaps things that Africa should be paying attention to as we've been trying to unpack Donald Trump's attitude towards our continent. And that's how we come to the end of today's edition of Channel Africa's Conversations. So thank you very much indeed for joining us. Before I go, we'd love to hear from you. You're probably seeing on your screen now our email address and other ways to contact us, particularly on social media. And what we'd like you to do is share your thoughts with us on this program and also on the kinds of conversations you'd like us to have more of and with whom. We certainly look forward to your feedback. Until then, until the next time, from me and the team, bye-bye.